Hey, happy Friday. Today we are talking about posture, and we're going to start up at the head and work all the way down through the hips, talking about a few different tips to help keep your posture correct and exercises that you can do to help improve anything that you find that isn't right. So let's start up at the head. Typically you want to keep your shoulders and your ears in line. So from the side, think about keeping your chin where it needs to be, and those shoulders and ears should be on top of each other. Most people tend to pull their neck forward, right? Not pretty, not attractive from the side view when you have your head down. You've been looking at your phone all day. So you want to try to think about pulling your head back, lifting it up just a little bit to pull those ears back over your shoulders. Working down from the head, the next place to focus is on those shoulders. I know for me growing up, it was always, hey, shoulders back, and that was a great way to stand up straight. However, when you pull your shoulders back, sometimes your head does something funny. And sometimes you can actually compromise your ribs. We're going to get to ribs next. So keeping those shoulders pulled back slightly without opening your rib cage. Think about squeezing back between your shoulder blades. Most people tend to have tight chest muscles. Life pulls us forward. We tend to go forward when we drive, forward on the computer, forward when reading. So anytime you can stop and take a break, open up those chest muscles, reach back behind you and stretch, can help to keep those chest muscles a little bit looser. The next thing you want to think about for keeping your shoulders back is strengthening your upper back muscles. Last week's 5-Minute Friday had an upright row, bent over row, that worked right between your shoulder blades. Anything you can do that works those upper back muscles can help to pull those shoulders back. Okay, so we talked about head, we talked about shoulders coming back slightly. When you take those shoulders back, now we're going to talk about ribs, okay? You don't want to open up your rib cage. Something called rib flare that I learned about from a physical therapist when I was having my hips worked on a few years ago. Very common for women, especially when we pull our shoulder blades back and we try to stand up straight, to open up our rib cage. Let me adjust this camera just a little bit. So I want you to go find your rib cage and think about pulling your shoulders back and pulling those ribs down just a tiny bit, where you pull your belly button in at the same time and you tuck those ribs in. So from the side, shoulders are back, head is back, but then check those ribs. If you're in the dance world, rib flare is encouraged, right? You want to be long and tall and you open up your body at the same time and you don't engage your core. So learning to keep those ribs tucked in is a huge tip in helping your core to be strong. So talked about ribs, down to that core, keeping your belly button in, pulled in deeply can make a really big difference in having nice posture. There's a muscle that wraps around your core called your transverse abdominis, and that transverse abdominal muscle is designed to be like a corset and pull everything in nice and tight. So when you pull your belly button in deeply into your spine, you're engaging that transverse abdominal muscle and helping your core to stay tight. So remember, when you do that though, pull that belly button in and then check your ribs. Make sure that your ribs are coming down just a tiny bit. Then bring those shoulders back without opening your ribs. Check your head. The very last step in all of this, going down the kinetic chain, head, shoulders, ribs, belly button, go to those hips, okay? One thing to check, have someone take a picture of you from the side and see, do your hips have a little bit of a tilt where your back has a pretty little arch in it? Shouldn't call it a pretty little arch. That arch there could actually be causing some core weakness. So I know for me, after having babies and pregnancy, I had this little arch in my back. I tended to always tilt my pelvis forward. And it's not a good way to strengthen your core. It can actually make your core much weaker. And then when you have that arch in your back, you tend to have your shoulders messed up. It can throw off the entire kinetic chain. So your hips need to be tucked in just a little bit. Engage those glutes, pull those hips under. Once you have your hips in line, then think belly button, ribs, shoulders, head, okay? Some great exercises for these besides working the upper back, working your core, doing the bridges and planks that we've talked about in some of the other videos. If you are interested in those, there's links on the Facebook page and also on the YouTube channel and on my DeBusk training website. So every time that you are doing core exercises, keep those ribs pulled in, belly button in, hips tucked in. One final exercise before I say goodbye, try putting your thumbs on the bottom of your rib cage and your middle fingers on the tops of your hips. Okay, if I stand up and do this, you're going to lose my head, but I can show you. So if you put those thumbs on your rib cage, fingers on your hip bones, arch your back a little bit, feel it open, pull that belly button in, tuck those ribs towards those hips, And that is exactly how to engage your core, okay? Those extra little checkpoints there with hips and ribs, with belly button and deep can make a huge difference moving up the kinetic chain to give you that nice posture. I would love to hear if you have any questions, if there's any other things that you have heard about posture or learned from physical therapists or trainers that have helped you to correct your posture. I'd love to hear it. Please have an awesome day. Talk to you soon.